a pretty successful week for character designs.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Because Zeku looks like fucking awesome work was done. And he's closing out Street Fighter V's Season 2 in style.
Honestly, I think if
happy
he
with
didn't
Zeku.
have the V-trigger thing, he'd actually be kind of boring. But because he has it, I think it does make him a lot more dynamic. And his personality does seem a bit more interesting than the 1 or 2 screens that he got in Street Fighter Alpha.
Yeah,
where he just seemed like he would be just...
He was just a serious guy.
Master-like
serious
guy.
kick man. Yeah, that's all he was. And at the time, he was just a screenshot dude. I'm happy they made a character out of him, for sure. Yeah. Yes, it's nice that he's got that Strider switch mode.
Yeah.
That's a really fun thing about him.
I'll turn young for my V-trigger.
But without that, I still think he looks fucking fantastic. I like old man fighter.
You have to admit, though, you look at his moveset, he just kicks you and just flips around.
Well,
it's nothing we haven't seen before.
Well, he's literally doing 2 moves that Charlie has. Like, he's doing the somersault slash, and he's doing the basically the flip kick and the grounded version of the kick as well.
And he has like jury style kicks. Kind of.
And he's not like Guy in this mode as much as his younger mode.
No, yeah, he's not.
You know?
I'm glad he's not Guy.
But when you switch because he's trying to invent a new style, right? That's his story.
I'd imagine so because he's not the Bushin Ryu master anymore.
No,
Guy is
exactly.
So he'd have to practice.
So
I always assume you kill yourself. When you're not the Bushin Ryu, when you get usurped.
Yes, actually.
Oh, what?
That's the story.
I did not. Well, so why is he not dead?
Because he's the first person.
I didn't look at the story about.
Okay, the Masters of Bushin Ryu in Street Fighter. Here we go. In Street Fighter, when you learn Bushin Ryu, you have to kill your master to become the new master.
Kill your master. Okay, yeah.
Right.
I actually knew that.
There can only be 2 practitioners at one time.
I knew a thing.
1, you mean?
At 2. A master and a student.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
It's like the rule of 2.
Yeah.
Right? And the Zeku was the first person to choose not to kill his master, and Guy was the second.
Okay.
Right? And we assume Zeku's master was like just old or whatever and died.
Yeah.
But when he took on Guy became the new master, but he chose not to kill Zeku. Mm-hmm. And so Zeku's like, all right, well, we're going to do things our way. So they respect... It's almost like... the Ansatsuken the whole killing thing. It's like there's killing moves, but we're not doing it that way. And so Zeku's like, all right, well, I'm done
pledge
now.
More bits for me to kill him. All of you out there.
And Maki is now there as well, so she's learning.
She's still the student.
So exactly. So Zeku is like, fuck it, I'm doing my own shit. But when you switch him back to young mode, where he looks like Strider.
Yeah.
Then he
like actually looks like Strider.
And then he gets the run commands that we're all familiar with and know from Guy. Yeah. But he does the flips as old man Zeku. Mm. Either way,
Rule 2
really
seems
cool.
like the stupidest thing to have if you're like, what if something happens to them? Like they get in a car wreck or something and you're like 70 years old. Well, there goes your entire life.
Well,
there goes every person that's ever known it.
You have to imagine that it's a martial art invented by a selfish asshole.
Yeah,
and
kind of.
A selfish asshole that wants to be the best and wants to never ever lose. And the best way you can never ever lose is by no one knowing your shit. So
you know what?
By being super secretive,
this has probably happened, and it doesn't exist because they fucking died.
Well, sure. And then of course MMA came along and proved that, like, you know, when people
none of it works.
None of it works. None of it works, dude. The best martial art is science.
It really is.
How many times there's clips of dudes like, oh god, I don't remember any of the names, but there was a clip, it was on a Rogan podcast where they're like, this one dude went and he fought a martial arts master in China, and there's video of this on YouTube where he's like, we're gonna fight, you're gonna use your ancient martial arts, you're gonna use kung fu, and I'm gonna do MMA, and I'm gonna show you that this is practical. It's based on real life, not just drills and fake things.
Right.
And
there's also a lot of politics.
Annihilates him embarrassingly, and he beat him so bad that he had to like flee because people were so upset. They're like death threats and like coming after this guy because he disrespected like the mysticism of this old martial art. And it was like, oh god damn, like no dude, for practical purposes you Like this is.
I will defend Asian martial arts here.
Well, wait.
I took Wing Chun, dude.
Were they of comparable power levels though?
Well, you see, that's the thing is we didn't get the numbers.
Important.
We didn't get the numbers.
If he had a higher power level coming into it, there's no way he could have won one way or the other.
The MMA guy 100% decimated the Kung Fu guy, and that is a rule that generally,
of course he is.
Providing that they've both done their research, like, will hold fast, because the MMA guy is basically like, if it works, I will use it. If it doesn't, I will not.
Look, I got a pocket full of sand.
He's using something that was designed for fighting, and most martial arts from Asia were not designed for fighting. They're more about carrying on historical traditions, or a form of meditation in some cases. Like there's all sorts of different kinds. And usually they don't really have anything to do with fighting necessarily. Some of them do. Like some of them actually do have good applications. So I think Kung Fu is one of them.
I can only really speak for Wing Chun because that's what I'm familiar with. But like I know that lessons were based on dealing with real life shitty situations that can happen to you, and basically like if you're forced into to fight or whatever, like how to deal with that in the proper way. So it's like it's not like get into a ring and spar with a guy as much as it was like handle this situation quickly and get the fuck out. You know?
And quote unquote real fighting, whatever you want to call it, like MMA sort of stuff. Yeah. Usually, there's a lot of politics behind it too, because most Asian martial arts here in like the Americas, North and South America, or even Europe, are usually taught by like bargain bin basement guys that don't really know that much about it. And that's where a lot of pervasiveness about how awful some of them are. Like if you go over to like very specific locations in like their native homelands, sometimes you'll find a guy that's like he knows his fucking shit. He's actually pretty good at it, but that's usually not the case. But and plus there's like this politic of, unless you have people that have active resistance during training, we won't consider it to be a real martial art. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have people that are actively resisting your training, then you just have people that are just doing rituals, and they're just falling down because they know they have to fall down.
Exactly. No, the point is that if you're building up a style based on experience, then there's strict rule sets in either sense, where it's like you can and can't do these things. But if you're building up your move list based on this worked and this didn't, then it just makes sense that you have a better shot than someone who's just doing a movement because he was taught to do it for 1,000 years. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, Jeet Kune Do worked for Bruce Lee because he realized as well, just take what works and throw away what doesn't.
Yeah, what's superfluous.
So
not every single martial art can be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, right. Which is also fucking like, goddamn, that shit's real.
Yeah, it's devastating.